If I asked you to discuss rhetorical debates, which usually end the way they started, with two groups sticking to their positions, which example would you choose? My first thought was the subject of the Pan-African Parliament, a five-headed monster totally useless, except perhaps for demonstrating the fighter-like talents of its members. In the end, the topic that really stuck out was that of the African authenticity of the fabric called wax or kitenge, depending on which part of Africa you're in. Nowadays, the non-African origins of this fabric and its route to the heart of West Africa are rarely spoken about. However, what is less known is the crucial role played by a group of women in the saga of African wax fabric. Few outside of West and Central Africa have heard of them. They are known as the Nana Benz. Rising in wealth and power, these authentic businesswomen traded fabrics, traveled the world, and drove Mercedes. Hence their nickname, Nana Benz. Their story is often told from the much-deserved perspective of their business savvy. In the 1970s and 1980s, the Nana Benz, based in Togo, controlled much of West Africa's fabric trade. Well known in political circles, they lived in luxury and made considerable turnover. But today they are my good excuse to talk about another subject, just as important. Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to a Sankofa that prefers to cover itself with real African fabrics. Senegalese Rabamanjak, Yoruba Ashoke, South African Shwe Shwe, Burkinabe Danfani, or Cameroonian Ndop.
African History Daily by my daddy.
Nana Benz is a woman who has helped Togo and Africa by her hard work. The Nana Benz have always had very powerful means of transportation. That's why they bought Mercedes-Benz.
You've just heard Dede Rose Crepe, one of the most famous Nana Benz, in an interview with a Canadian journalist. The Nana Benz is first and foremost a collective adventure that refers to the economic evolution of an entire continent. From the early days of the colonial age to the arrival of China, to understand their story, we have to go back a long way, to the middle of the 19th century, and take the road to Indonesia, who were at the time under the dominance of the Netherlands. During their time on the island, Dutch merchants discovered cotton fabrics printed on both sides and covered with wax, a process that allows colors to be better fixed. The Dutch quickly had these brightly colored fabrics manufactured in Europe and renamed the fabric Dutch wax, intended primarily for African markets. The story goes that the first to be seduced were the Ghanaian soldiers, who, at the time, were plentiful in the Dutch colonial army, engaged in heavy fighting in Java and Borneo. When they returned home, they brought back with them entire shipments of Dutch wax. In fact, it was in Ghana, which was a Dutch colony until 1872, that the first Dutch waxes were shipped in mass. Very quickly, a family became the head of this trade, the Van Vlissingens. Shipowners and merchants, they settled in Accra in the 1870s, near the great port of Ghana, where their reach covered a large part of West Africa. Resistant, very colorful, and sold at very good prices, the waxes were an immediate success among women of all social classes in the region. From that time on, many women from neighboring Togo made the trip to Accra to buy wax. Sensing the importance of the Togolese market, the Van Vlissingen family even opened a branch in Lomé in the 1880s. Thus was born the Vlisco African Company, which still today has many stores in West Africa. And it is from Ghana that for nearly a century, the colored fabrics of Holland spread a large part of West Africa. However, everything changed in the 1960s with the arrival of Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. Anxious to promote local industry, Nkrumah introduced prohibitive custom duties on wax from Holland and had a gigantic textile factory built to take over European production. But the experiment ended in abject failure due to a long-withstanding issue, corruption.
Oh la la.
But this experience was enough to get the better of the Dutch wax market, which almost completely disappeared from West Africa in the space of a few years. In the early 1970s, 10 years after the wave of independence throughout the continent, Togo, a small country abundantly endowed with phosphate and a remarkable economic boom, earned the nickname the Switzerland of Africa. In these conditions, with their eyes turned towards the future, a great number of merchants left their trade to take up positions in the new public administration, which were considered more lucrative than commercial activities. It was at this time that some particularly enterprising women decided to start their own business. Unfortunately, this is also the moment where we wrap up this episode. Learn more about the entrepreneurial spirit of the Nana Benz in the second part of this episode.
Have you purchased your African Pioneers book?
You better do. It's both in English and French, so you can practice your French too.
And it's illustrated for both adults and children.
No excuses. Come on, place your order at
www.myafricancliche.com. Thank you, dear.